Hey there, Changemaker. Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast, episode number 43. I, of course, am Amy Van Meel. I'm pumped that you're here. Today, we're talking about Facebook ads marketing. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty, but what I'm going to share with you today will be highly valuable. So with that, let's jump right in. I spent years building my interior design business, trying to do all the things: the marketing, the networking, the free content, spending thousands of dollars on training and education, only to see minimal growth. After years of frustration, I finally started to ask, what am I missing? I had the systems in place for powerful growth. I had amazing clients. I had determination, drive, and commitment to spare. And yet, I wasn't seeing the success I desired. What if business is not about the doing? What if building a powerful business requires both powerful systems and something else, something deeper? I'm Amy Van Meel, and I'm on a journey to discover that something else. If you are ready to build a powerful business and do it knowing that your success is inevitable, join me as I share both the powerful systems I know work and my lessons and revelations as I discover that something deeper. Welcome, Changemaker, to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. Well, hey there, Changemakers. Thanks so much for joining me today. It is a gorgeous sunny day here in Calgary, and I'm just super happy to be here with you today. I'm to be totally honest, I'm feeling a little bit tired. You've heard a couple episodes ago that I have taken on a job, and I've talked about, balancing things out between everything that I'm doing. So I think I'm going to have a podcast episode for you in the near future that talks about balancing it all, because I know you might be thinking like, Amy, we have a full-time job already and we're trying to build this business. So, sing me a new song. But it's been a very interesting experience because I've had full-time jobs before while I've been building a business, and this one feels a little bit different, possibly because I'm building two businesses at the same time as I have this job. So anyway, that's neither here nor there, other than just to say I will be very likely recording a podcast just talking about how I'm balancing it all out. And to be quite honest, at the moment, I'm holding my own. I'm just making do, keeping my head above water, and paying attention to what's important. But that's not what we're here about today. What we're here about today is to have a brief talk about Facebook marketing. Now, this is a bit of a departure from the material that I typically talk about. And I should preface this with saying I am not a Facebook marketing expert. I am not a marketing expert. I'm not a Facebook expert. And no matter how you put them together, I'm not an expert in that at all. I have run a series of Facebook ads in the past, both for this business and for my other business. So I have some experience with it. We're not going to be talking about the ins and outs of it today, but I want to cover a few points. So you may be well on your way already. Maybe you are just getting ready to launch your business. You've been getting everything on the back end ready. Maybe you've gone through the launch pad. I know there's a few of you listening that have joined, so thank you so much for joining. And if you're interested, go on over to daretobegin.net/the launch pad to sign up. So you might be at the point now where you're going, okay, I've got everything on the back end ready. I'm about ready to go live with this business, and I really want to make a big splash when I do that. And so I think I'm going to run some Facebook marketing to generate some excitement, to bring people in the door right away, and it's going to be fantastic. By the end of the month, I'll be making, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be fully booked. So first, I want to just give you a little bit of a reality check in the sense that may happen, but it's very unlikely. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that in a way of saying, this is not me patting you on the head and saying, oh, you new entrepreneur, you're so cute, just wait until you get into the real world. That's not what it's about at all. What it's about is saying that we need to take a longer look at it and to understand that while it is possible, there are stories out there of people who say that they've done it, it's very unlikely. And so I just want you to have a moment to really acknowledge that, because I'll tell you why. I went into Facebook marketing when I launched this business earlier this year, and I did my first live launch for my program, which, by the way, was a total flop. So I think I've talked about that before. I'm sure that'll come up later on. But when I went through it, I thought I had everything in place. I knew exactly the customer I was going after. I knew what I was offering. I had a pretty good idea of, like, I had looked at different ad sets, and I had done my research, and I had a budget set up, and I spent a lot on Facebook marketing and got nothing out of it. And I went into it thinking, like, okay, this is going to be awesome. Like, this ad's going to run for so long, and it's totally affordable, and away I go. But I hadn't prepared myself for the reality that it could generate nothing. And so when it generated very little, it was extremely disheartening to me. And I mean, the launch itself, everything around the launch didn't go the way that I wanted it to. Obviously, I didn't bring in students into the program right away like I wanted to. And so those were things that I had to adjust as well. But today I want to talk about the Facebook side of things because it takes a little bit of time. And what's interesting to me is that experts will tell you that it is possible to convert right away and that they have done it. They have proof that they have done it. They do have proof that they've done it, but the Facebook is getting tighter and tighter all the time. And you see this in the news, you see this in any articles that you're reading, that Facebook's being held to account, how they use information, how they distribute information, the access that they give to the information that they collect. They're being held to account around the world about all of that information. And if you are on the side of, you really don't like Facebook, you don't like using it, you don't like how much it feels like an overreach to you, then you totally understand why Facebook is being held to account. So in a way, when those experts that originally, made a big splash, when they did, there was sort of a perfect storm that happened at the time. They had access to this phenomenal database of people before things got really tight. And so I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult right now, and that is not a bad thing, but it does mean that it's good and important for us to set some good and reasonable expectations of what we can expect from our ad sets, and that it's going to take a little bit of practice. And that's totally good. It's totally fine to take some practice and for things to get worked out, because let's be honest, if it was easy, first of all, everybody would do it, right? I know that I'm not the only one that said that, but it would also potentially be less fun. If you approach this as sort of an experiment and think like, okay, this is a game that I just need to figure out how to generate the most amount of points. So how do I do that exactly? And in order to do that, you have to first know some of the rules. So let's talk about one of the first things if you are getting ready to run a Facebook campaign. And when I say Facebook, I'm going to use it'll be both Facebook and Instagram because they are owned by the same. And Facebook, I believe, runs on a few different platforms. So you can find that in your ads manager. But the first thing that I want to talk about today is if you've really defined a very tight target audience. Now, we have talked about getting really clear on, I call them your perfect client or your target audience. If you want a bit more support on that, episode 28, which I'll link in the show notes, is all about that, all about deciding who your perfect client is going to be. What I would challenge you to do if you've already gone through the work is to get yourself set up on Facebook, the Facebook Business Manager and Ads Manager. I believe as of right now, they're two separate things, but you need both to make it all work. You also need a Facebook business page in order to connect it to. So if you haven't set that up, you'll need to set that up. But what I would suggest is once you have all those things set up is just to go into it and build a test ad. The reason I say this is that speaking from personal experience, when I went through this, I thought I had a pretty clear idea of who my audience was. But the categories and the way to select that audience through your Facebook ad campaign makes it feel much more complicated. And there's nothing worse than, you're under the gun, you want to start this ad tomorrow or next week or whatever, and now you're trying to also navigate through this brand new platform, because the ads manager really is a platform that you've never had access to before, and try to figure out, what is Facebook asking for me from here? So I would encourage you to go in and have a look first. Start playing around with it. And Facebook has a really good thing where they will show you, the approximate reach of your audience, etc. There are so many ins and outs that I can't possibly cover them in a podcast. Never mind the fact that I don't know all the ins and outs, but that's a really good place to start. So if you have not yet done the exercise of figuring out who your target audience is, let me say, what? We got to do that first. You need to know when you're building your business, who are you serving? Who is the ideal person that you are going to be working with? I've talked about before in my design business that my ideal client, it's been developing over the years, but I knew I wanted people that were in a certain income bracket. I knew it was more likely to be women. They were likely to be, say, between the ages of probably 35 to 50, maybe a little bit below or a little bit over that, but that was a good average. I knew that they likely had, a career that was bringing them a certain amount of money in. They were people who either had a family or were family oriented. And when I say family oriented, they're really heartfelt people. And I've talked about before that my clients, the one thing that is consistent across all of my clients is that they are really warm, genuine, caring people. They're not about showboating for others. They're not about needing the latest tech or whatever. They are about creating spaces that support them, that they feel happy in, that they can bring family and friends together. That is consistent across all of my clients. And I'm amazed and I'm super grateful that that is the way it is, because I just think it's the most beautiful thing. That's how I am as well. When we renovated our home, that was something that we looked at, was how can we make this to be a space that is welcoming and more enjoyable? We can have people here and we can all be together. Our main floor used to be all sectioned off, so that wasn't possible before, and now it is. So if you haven't done it yet, definitely go through and do the work to figure out who your perfect client is going to be. And by all means, go ahead and listen to podcast episode number 28. And again, I'll link that in the show notes, but you can find that if you scroll down as well. And that will talk about just specifically the target audience. Then I want to talk about you setting an affordable and sustainable ad budget. Now, this is what I see happen a lot. I see a lot of people who go in and think, okay, I can afford to spend $1,000 on Facebook marketing or $2,000 on Facebook marketing. So I'm just going to throw all of it in. I'm going to run it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, and, we'll see what happens. That's great. You could go that way if you wanted to. What I would encourage you, particularly at the beginning, is start way lower than that. I would even suggest, I was blown away. I was actually at a Facebook conference hosted here in Calgary back in the spring. And they had a panel of businesses that were using Facebook ad campaigns and were seeing some pretty good success from them. And they talked about, like what were the things that you did, et cetera, et cetera. One of the businesses said, and it was really quite fascinating to me, that they've had consistent success with their Facebook ads campaigns, but they started literally as small as $1 a day. They just started with that to, let's throw something out there. Let's start to see what's working. Let's start to get clear on, who's interacting with the ads so that we can sort of tweak it a little bit. And at $1 a day, they weren't freaking out. They weren't like hurting for it going out. It didn't bother them that even if that ad didn't convert for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, because they were out $6, right? So it wasn't the end of the world that way. I think that's a great way to start, especially if you haven't actually launched your business yet. What a fantastic way to get people excited. Really, all you need is either an Instagram page or a website landing page. You don't even have to have a full website yet, but you can just let people know, hey, we're getting ready to, we're launching this new business and we're getting ready to start booking our first clients and we're super excited and we just want to let you know this is what we're doing, whatever. You can have some fun with it. And again, at $1 a day, it's not going to crush you to have that run for even a month while you get things going. But in the time that ad set is running, it's collecting data. It's figuring out as Facebook has that ad campaign running, it's figuring out, who is actually paying attention to this ad. And you can start to make small tweaks. Now, here's the thing, you can't tweak everything all at once, which is super tempting. You need to let it run for a little while. So typically it takes between 3 and 7 days for an ad campaign to actually start kind of digging its teeth in and generating some data points that will actually tell you what's working and what's not. So then you can tweak small things. So maybe it's something like the title or the caption of your ad set. Maybe it's the image, and maybe it's not necessarily you need to change the entire image, but maybe you're changing the color or you're changing the font if you have text on the image, etc. So you can start to play with those small things, but the point is to set an ad budget that allows you to experiment in that way without creating a ton of attachment on top of it. Right? You don't want to send this ad set out. And that was the mistake that I made when I did the launch earlier this year. I made this mistake of attaching so much emotion and requirements on top of this ad set that it was going to do all these things. And so, first of all, I pretty much set it up to fail from the beginning because I was coming at it from a mindset of being in lack, hoping for abundance, but truly behind everything being in lack. And so that wasn't helping. And then on top of that, I was setting a ton of expectations on it. It's going to do all these amazing things. And when it didn't, it really took me out of the game. And I had to work really hard during my launch process to try to stay in it. It was exhausting. It was only 2 weeks and it was exhausting. Never mind all the months of work leading up to it. So I would encourage you, even if you say, Amy, I really want to spend $1,000 and just do, a 4-week ad set, why not cut it in half? Even try 500. I mean, I'm telling you, you don't even have to go that big, but why not save some of that and run an ad set, maybe even run 2 ad sets. Imagine if you ran 2 ad sets at $1 a day each, you're out $60 a month. But both of those ad sets are generating some data points for you so you can actually figure out what's working. And then when you start to figure out what's working, then you can start to tighten things up. So maybe if one ad set isn't working at all, now you can let that one go and you can focus a bit more on the other one. The other thing, I'm just going to touch on this one point before we move on to the next one, is that when you do increase your ads budget, don't go crazy. And I have no idea, I'll be totally honest, I have no idea why, but there seems to be, and I've heard it from a number of experts who use the platform, that when let's say you're running an ad at $1 a day, and then all of a sudden you're going to throw $10 a day at it, or you want to do $50 a day at it because you're like, wow, this ad set is converting really well. I'm just going to dump even more into it and it will convert even better. I don't know why, but that seems to do something to Facebook that it doesn't like it. And so I've heard enough experts talk about this to just slowly increase the budget. Don't go all in all at once, just slowly increase. So let's say you're running an ad set at $1 a day and it's converting really well. Maybe you increase that to $2 or $3 a day or to $5 a day. Now that's still 5 times more than what you were spending, but $5 a day is not a crazy amount, right? And then you can observe how that ad set is working. And I would let those ads run before you make any changes. Give them at least a week minimum. Ideally, you're talking like 2 weeks to kind of see how things are going. And that's why when you start with a lower budget, then you can allow that experimentation to happen and you can tweak it, you can observe. And then when you steadily increase, you're just tightening things up without being, worrying about the money just flowing out like water out of your bank account. The other thing that I want to talk about is if you have observed ad sets from very successful businesses that are similar to yours, and if you have a solid ad set of your own. So what I mean by this, when I was building the ad sets for the launch that I did earlier this year, and I haven't done an ad set since, for a number of reasons, but I haven't done an ad set since. So I'm going to use that one for an example. When I was building the ad sets for that launch, and by ad set, I mean the graphics that I used, the content and the text, the title that I used, all of those things. I had a really good look at how others were doing it. I looked at Marie Forleo's ads. I looked at Amy Porterfield's ads. I think I observed a few other ones that just, as they came across, I would go through the ads and be like, okay, what's working in here? What do I really like about this? Would I click through? Would I sign up for this webinar? If so, why? What's in here that sort of is like juicy to me? I started to really do the research and look deeper into, other than just like, okay, there's another ad and we're just going to keep going, right? I actually started to look into what was happening in those ad sets and could I replicate it? So I would encourage you to while you're doing the research into working on the Facebook Ads Manager and trying to figure out how Facebook adjusts their target market, I would encourage you to also look into other ads. So there are people that you follow on Facebook or Instagram who I'm sure are running paid ads. So look at those ads, look at them objectively. Think about whether or not you're interested in signing up for their program or their webinar or their whatever it is. Think about what is engaging about that ad. Try to pull it apart and go, okay, what's behind this? Are they telling me a story? If they are telling me a story, how are they telling that story? What does it have to do with what they ultimately want me to do? How are they positioning their call to action? What kind of images or graphics are they using? And are they engaging, or do they just fall flat? So if you start doing that, it's so good to learn at the feet of the masters, and you can do it without ever having actually met the masters. You can literally observe the work that they're doing. And then finally, we talked about this already earlier, is to set up your Facebook page. You need to set up and again, I believe the ads manager and the business manager are two different things, but I'm pretty sure you need both in order to be able to run your ad campaigns. So make sure you've set that up ahead of time. Something that I've learned, and this is really unique about the job that I'm in, which I'm really loving, is that so if you have a Facebook page right now, or a Facebook profile right now, just set up your business page. I believe that it doesn't link across to your personal page. Lots of people are worried that they don't want it to have anything to do with their personal account, but I believe that Facebook has some protection in place so that your Facebook business page does not connect back to your personal profile. What you do not want to do is set up a dummy profile that just has nothing happening on it in order to be able to set up a Facebook business page, because Facebook will look at that, like I believe they call it a grayed out profile or a gray profile, and they'll actually mark you as a potential for fraud. So then then your Facebook page goes nowhere. So you don't want that either. So if you already have a Facebook profile, and for those of you who are not on Facebook and don't really want to be, but know that Facebook ads are really good, you're gonna need a Facebook profile in order to be able to run Facebook ads. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's how it goes. So if you have one already, fantastic. If you don't, set one up, add a few friends, have a little bit of activity on there. You don't have to be crazy busy on Facebook. In fact, I'm terrible at Facebook. And because there's been so much going on between the job and my two businesses right now, I haven't even been that great at Instagram. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, thank you so much. It just touches my heart every time I see things that you like a post, or if you leave a comment. And at the same time, I'm looking at that going, okay, I'm going to have to come back to this in a little bit. So I have not been super active on Instagram other than to share a post every now and again, because I definitely want to tell you guys about the podcast episodes. But that is something that is, for the moment, while I'm sorting everything else out and, trying to keep all these balls going, it's something that has stepped back a little bit from me. So don't feel like you need to be super busy on Facebook in order to make it possible. All right. So if you go through those four things, if you figure out your target audience and you start to play with the Facebook Ads Manager, if you set up an affordable and sustainable budget, you don't want to go bust on your Facebook ads, especially not your first one, right? Like, start slow, practice, see what happens, and allow it to generate some data for you. Allow Facebook to go out there and think of it kind of like Facebook has gone out there fishing for you. Like, okay, who's interested in this kind of stuff? And then then you can start to tweak things. I will say we talk about this in the target audience, is to keep things tight. When you are getting ready to do a Facebook ad campaign, you want to keep that audience very tight. And Facebook, like I said, has a great way of showing you the approximate reach. So you want to be aware of that. So things like the demographics, like the age, the gender, potentially the job or a physical location, things like that will make a huge difference. So think about those things. Have a look, observe, and break down what other successful entrepreneurs are doing in their ad sets. Look at what it is, how they're building them, how they're positioning content, how they're positioning the ask, how are they putting the call to action in? What is the call to action? Are they showing something for like a free download, or are they wanting you to come join them on a webinar? Have a look at how that all gets positioned, and then deduce that down so that you can figure out, okay, what would that work for my ad set? And then finally, if you don't already, get your Facebook profile set up, make a little bit of action on there, get your Facebook business page up and going, and then practice around on the ads and business manager so that you can kind of see, what's happening ahead of time. So when you're ready to build the ad, you're not also then being limited by the tech, right? You're not going, oh my gosh, I have no idea what's happening in here. And, now I need to figure it all out. So that's my thoughts on Facebook marketing. Like I said, I am not an expert. None of this that we talked about is anything that is so crazy or out of the world. Like is it groundbreaking? No, but what it is it's going to help you get set up to run a more successful ad campaign, right? And hopefully, this is my goal for you, that it's not just more successful, but that it's also easier on you mentally and emotionally, so that you don't run into a Facebook ads campaign like I did, thinking it's all going to be amazing and then feeling a little bit disheartened by how it all went. All right. So there you have it. There's my thoughts on Facebook marketing. And I just want to offer about, I think it was 19 podcasts ago, because it's episode 34. I had an episode about clearing through the negative thoughts, which I would encourage you, if you haven't yet, to have a listen to, especially as you're getting ready to go into this Facebook ads marketing thing. Because if you want to kickstart, feeling doubt and concern about who you are and what you're doing and all that kind of stuff, an ads campaign will do that. It's fantastic at bringing that stuff forward. So I would encourage you to go have a listen. I'm also going to link an interview that I did a few weeks ago with a wonderful woman in Australia. It was probably one of my favorite interviews to do. And we talk again about how to deal with negative thoughts. And so I'm going to link that in the show notes as well, because it was just a fantastic interview. And I think that it will add just a little bit extra. It's still talking about negative thoughts, but it's talking about it a little bit differently. And you could get to hear it more as a conversation versus just me sitting here talking at the microphone. All right. Okay. So with that, that's all I have for you this week. I trust that this will land. I trust that you will get some incredible value out of this. I am also, between you, me, and the computer screen, keeping an eye on the clock because I need to get ready to get into my job right away. So I'm just wishing you a phenomenal day, a phenomenal weekend, evening, wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you so much for listening. I just want to share this quick little win here. I get a weekly report from Spreaker, which is the platform I use to host my podcast. It sends me an email every week that shows me my stats from the last week. And I have been over the moon watching the downloads go up and the plays go up, and it just makes my heart so happy. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for following or liking or however it is that you're doing. I appreciate you being here. So thanks so much for that. And I said before, as always, if you want to, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And something that I need to figure out how to go check. I know you're probably thinking like, Amy, how can we be 43 episodes in and not know how to go check that? It's on the list, guys. I promise. Or always, shout out on Instagram. if you ping me on Instagram, you tag me at I Dare to Begin, I promise you within 24 hours, I will send you a little love back. So if you're listening and you want to just take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, that would make me super happy. And also, tag me in that post so I can send some love your way. With that, I wish you a phenomenal rest of your day, and I'm super looking forward to talking with you next week. Bye for now. Are you tired of figuring it out all on your own? Of sitting in overwhelm, knowing that you're not moving forward, but having no idea where or how to start? Are you ready to learn effective, profit-supporting strategies for your business so that you can finally earn the money you desire and step into the freedom that you're working so hard to create? If so, I invite you to join me inside the Launchpad. You'll get instant access to free training designed to meet you where you are right now and propel you forward toward the dream that you hold in your mind. It's time to make a powerful move toward your future. Time to step up and serve the people who desperately need your help. Let's not keep them waiting any longer. Today is the day. Join the Launchpad now. Just go to daretobegin.net/the Launchpad and sign up. Your success is inevitable. Now, let's launch it.